All right, we're on section 2, chapter 5. If you look at question number 12 on your study guide, the first question is asking you is describe the Homestead Act. Please read along with me. Section 2, settling the Great Plains. Federal land policy and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad led to the rapid settlement of the American West. In 1862, Congress passed the Homestead Act, which allowed 160 free acres to any head of household. Please write that down for number 12. Write down it is a congressional act, meaning it is a law that was passed and it gave you 160 free acres. And here's a picture of the Transcontinental Railroad when it met. It is a railway that went from the Pacific Ocean and met, and the other end it came from the Atlantic Ocean. Exodusters move west. African Americans who moved from post-Reconstruction south to Kansas, they took advantage of the land deals. Question number 13 on your study guide is describe some hardships that the homesteaders encountered. You can simply summarize this slide here. Frontier settlers faced extreme hardships: droughts, floods, fires, blizzards, locust plagues, bandits. But despite all this, a large number of people living west of the Mississippi grew from 1% to almost 30% by 1900. If you take a look at this slide, these are the type of homes that they lived in. So 14 is asking you what were dugouts and soddies. Take a look at the pictures. Most settlers built their homes from the land itself. Pioneers often dug their homes out of the sides of ravines or hills. That's the dugouts. Or they made flat plains freestanding homes of turf. And these are called soddies. Please write that down for question 14. Question number 15 is asking what two technologies helped farmers. I know it's cut off here, but you can see in 1837, John Deere invented a steel plow. In 1847, Cyrus McCormick created a reaping machine. Other inventions include a grain drill to plant seed, barbed wire, and a corn binder. Please write those technologies down for number 15. Question number 16 is asking, what was the Morrill Acts of 1862 and 1890? On this slide, farmer education supported. The federal government financed agricultural education. The Morrill Acts of 1862 and 1890 gave federal lands to the states to help finance agricultural colleges. Please write that down for number 16. That right there, please write that down. Section 3, Farmers and the Populist Movement. In the late 1800s, many farmers were struggling, crop prices were falling, debt increased, mortgages were being foreclosed by the banks. Please summarize this slide for number 17 on your study guide. Economic distress hits the farmers. Between 1867 and 1877, the price of a bushel of wheat fell from $2 to 68 cents. Railroad conspired to keep transport costs artificially high, and then farmers got caught in a cycle of debt. Question number 18 asks, what specific problem did farmers have with the railroad? Please write down that they conspired to keep the costs high. Farmers organized for change. This is all in reaction to the bad situation that farmers were experiencing. So in 1867, Oliver Hudson Kelley started the Patrons of Husbandry, an organization for the farm framers that became known as the Grange. Please write this down for number 19. The Grange spent most of their time fighting the railroads. I want you to include the Grange and other farmer alliances numbered in 4 million members. Please add to number 19 that these two groups organized in order to get better lives for farmers. Out of this organization comes the Populist Party. On this slide here, the Populist Party is born. Take a look at the picture here. What do you see? This political cartoon shows a populist clubbing a railroad car. So you have the Populist Party taking on the railroad industry. Read along with me here. Leaders of the farmers' organization realized that they needed to build a base of political power. Populism, the reform movement of the people, was born in 1892 with the founding of the Populist or the People's Party. Question number 20 is asking what were the populist reforms. This is what we're looking at right here. This is what they fought for. They proposed economic reforms, including increasing the money supply, a rise in crop prices, lowering taxes, a federal loan program. Proposed political reforms included direct election of senators for presidents. Populists also called for an 8-hour workday and reduced immigration. Please summarize this slide for question number 20 on your study guide. Populists make gains. In 1892, in the presidential election, the populist candidate won almost 10% of the vote. In the West, the party elected 5 senators, 3 governors, and 1,500 state legislators. If you take a look at the Electoral College map, this is what they mean. James B. Weaver was a populist, and he gained 22 Electoral College votes, which is a lot. If you look at the areas where he gained his vote, it's all in the Midwest from all the farmers. This area supported populism. Question number 21. Describe the Panic of 1893 and its effects. Nationwide economic problems took center stage in America in 1893. Railroads went bankrupt. The stock market lost value. 15,000 businesses and 500 banks collapsed. 3 million people lost their jobs, putting unemployment at 20%. Please summarize this slide for question number 21. Number 22 is asking, what was the central issue to the election of 1896? Silver or gold? The central issue of the 1896 presidential campaign was which metal would be the basis of the nation's monetary system. Bimetallism, those who favored using both, versus those that favored the gold standard alone. Please write this down for question number 22. Bryan and the Cross of Gold. Republicans favored the gold standard and nominated William McKinley. Please write that down for number 23. Who favored the gold standard? That was the Republicans and William McKinley. Please add that the Democrats favored bimetallism and nominated William Jennings Bryan. Despite Bryan's stirring words, "You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold," McKinley won the election of 1896. Please write down for question number 24 that McKinley won the election of 1896. Here is the Electoral College. McKinley, 271 Electoral College votes, and Bryan had 176. And this is the end of populism. You can write that down for number 24 as well. Populism ended. Read along with me. With McKinley's election victory, populism collapsed, bearing the hopes of farmers. Populism left two important legacies. One, a message that the downtrodden can organize and be heard. And two, an agenda of reform which would be enacted in the 20th century. This concludes the Chapter 5 study guide.